just was in the consulate herself on Wednesday. There is no one better to carry you through this map, because I tell you what, as they were harping on the desk over and over in our ears, this win for whichever team walks away with it is going to guarantee them that top 4 spot. That's what you want. But you know what I want from the bans here, Des? I want an Echo ban. Don't you dare let Yak on it again.
We've seen the damage that quite a few teams have done this stage with the Echo. To be fair, I'm thinking of many a nightmares in Cafe Kitchen, for example. On this map itself, the piano hatch hopping one, if you recall, against Empire. Poor Shepard had no idea what was hitting him. But the first one coming out is going to be the Ash, much to the dismay of Aces. Valkyrie, the third one, and I wonder if that fourth will be that ever elusive Echo, Jess.
Oh, please. They were very decisive. That's why the timer ticked down so fast. Make it happen. There it is. Target bans on both sides, baby. That's going to be the Ash off the board and the Echo. And you can see that Rips is going to do a bit of a sad face there. And, I mean, that's not sad for Rogue here. This is sad for G2. And, there's some, I'm not sure I'm going to point that one out. I'm going to let that one go.
Please. They're just talking about the bans coming through a thing because
some accusations about scrims. Yeah, it's we beautiful. Like that. We like the scrimusations, I'm going to call that.
Scrimusations. That's a new one. I like it. We'll have to keep track of those in future as they step through, but they have declared that everything should be clear in the chat, and we are clear to get into round number 1. So with that Ash taken away, imagine we're going to see a lot of Zofia. It does give some room to see more things like the Buck and the Sledge coming through, potentially even both in combination.
And the Oryx as well, that's a really nice one. We've been seeing played on Consulate many times. Open up every hatch, and if it's not a Yokai jumping up, but guess what? It might be crying on the Oryx. Look at Pogmat G2. We love the name, by the way. Very, very poignant name. I'm confident in my boys to be performing as best they could, and I'm sure they'll do today as well. Go get them. I don't know about that one, Pogmat. I mean, you're speaking about the Pogmat. Not going to be a Pogmat in sight for this round thus far, but I know that G2 likes running the Frost, so maybe in their defensive half we'll see it.
I'm enjoying seeing the Oryx coming out here as well. A couple of teams have been employing him quite a bit lately, and not at all for the reason that we always speak about, you know, the hatch-hopping Oryx, as we like to say. Very rarely have we ever seen it used to the kind of dream state that everyone imagines, i.e. the late round flank up a hatch, come up behind the attackers, put 2 or 3 of them in a coffin, and that's the end of the round. We've only really seen that once in LATAM, but it's more about the use of opening up the wall, as you've seen Cryin do at least once in this round already, thanks to the damage that he has taken. Was changed from being 10 points of damage taken to 5 a good few months ago now. We were all hoping to see him a little bit more. Hasn't really been super popular, but I'd say in the last couple of weeks has started to creep back in. What I'm looking forward to here, Jess, is more around the information game they're playing. They've got the Maestro with Corey, likely playing on site here with a couple of Evil Eyes set up, one inside of Avisa itself, the other one looking on the downstairs. And I'm thinking that's going to be signaling behind those three C4s that are sat on Rips, Aces, and Leon. Almost a kind of bread and butter setup for this site, it feels like.
Well, I don't have a lot of stats to go back on here about this particular site. I mean, it's not a very popular site for a lot of teams because it takes such meticulous holding. Are they going to push into tellers? Do we have the C4 and the vertical holes to deal with it? What if they go do a garage rush and then rush archives? Do we have the necessary operators? With Miro in play, I argue yes. And the opening kill will be Leon Gibbs going down to Kanto Ricchetти. Not the best season so far, but it doesn't matter when you can put the impact and the opening kills on the board. And that's exactly what your team needs. Aces, he'll give a bit of a shoulder peek and a nice little C4, and I believe that got impacted at the same time, so Uno's quite lucky there, but they reach the halfway mark now, and as they start ripping up the roof above, the big thing for Rogue here will be that they need to be careful, especially with Cryin creeping his way up yellow here. No one there to contest him just yet. I wonder if there's a flank drone to spot him as he does this.
I've got to ask the early question about Leon as well. Why is there a Pulse getting so aggressive against Kanto as he's pushing his way up yellow? Like, you're looking towards the Pulse cardiac sensor to be used later in the round to do some damage. Speaking of damage, that's 2 kills now on the top floor against Rogue. Quite a bit of aggression being shown. And normally you'll see teams dial back after the minute and a half mark. Rogue have lost 2, and yes, sure, burned through 2 minutes. But on G2 side, I think they'll be feeling pretty confident about this as long as they can play the dancing game with these C4s. And speaking of which, one does connect, bringing down Kayak. Not an operator you'll be too upset to lose at this point, I think, as now we're starting to look at the site. That Evil Eye being removed should remove pretty much all information now coming out for the side of Rogue on site as well. So for G2, this should be as easy as taking candy from a baby. Let's see how things step up.
Well, speaking of, those pings are raining out here. Citizen, he had all of the intel he needed, but it'll be Uno to take out Aces. That's the Melusi done and dusted. No C4s, no plant denial left. It's going to be up to the Elder and the Vector. Rips and Corey, 10 seconds left. Plant begins and Citizen runs in from behind. He deals with them both swiftly, and they will go down here in an almost flawless round from G2. And I tell you what, if you're Rogue right now with the very spread out setup they had, I've got to give it to Rogue. Multiple of those proximity mines were spread around the map. They had verticals in really good positions. They were ready to counter G2. The trouble is, when you throw bodies unnecessarily at G2, you're giving them freebies. Too much man advantage, too easy.
I had in my pre-game notes for this game that from Rogue, we needed to see the same play style we've seen a lot of teams employing in Stage 1 so far, and that is on the defense. You get out in the map, you look to cause trouble, you upset the attackers, take away a couple of operators, if at all possible, so they don't have those tools left to execute on the site. They're left a little bit starved in the late round. They lose out in direct gunfights and go from there because utility, of course, is then going to be assisting the defenders. The problem there was Rogue tried that game. They lost Leon really early on, so lost not only a C4, but the cardiac sensor. And then Crime, for some strange reason, chose to, I think, push up where he thought Kanto Raketti had gone. The problem being, yes, he had gone that way, but Citizen was then sat in the power position that we saw him pick up a 3K, I think, back in week 1 on this map against Secret, and he picks up a second kill in the round, and before you know it, G2 in a 5 versus 3. Play the game sensibly, you close things out from there. Very clean from G2, but now leaves a lot of questions of Rogue of how are you going to make this aggressive roam game work, or are you going to abandon that idea altogether and try something different?
Well, never underestimate G2. They're always going to have that flank hold somewhere, some way, and that was Citizen last round. I was looking towards their statistics as well to go, on console, how does G2 usually fare? Well, they do pretty well on both their attacks and defense. In fact, they're a very, very balanced team on this map. So I think it's fair to say if they do well on this first half, that's probably going to bode pretty well for them in the second half. You look over towards Rogue and you're like, well, how did they do on their attack? How did they do on their offense? I'm going to tell you right now, they are a very defensive-sided team on this map. Very, very. Ooh. Speaking of, Corey's going to prove me right and show you exactly why by kicking off with the opening kill on Akanto, who happened to get the opening kill just a round ago as well. So for me, nice shot as well, pixel peak. That's what we like to see. But this is for Rogue. They need this first half and they need a dominant amount of rounds if stats are to speak of anything.
Sure, there's a few viewers at home now just stamping their feet saying, Kanto, you saw the black head step out alongside a white background. How did you not see it? Well, reaction time's just a little bit too in favor of Corey there, unfortunately. Oh, that's going to sting. Big time sting as well, because now they've only got 4 left. This may be one of the first times, Jess, we don't see Garage Wall get opened up. I cannot think of a time when teams haven't so clinically got this opened up. They're going to try, mind you, and may just get away with it. If this gets blocked out, they're in deep trouble, but now all they've got is a hole they're going to have to lie down to get through, I think. This is going to be absolute hell when execution time comes around.
I'm not blaming Virtue for this, but for the most part, every time I've seen Thatcher played on the side of G2, it's been Uno. Let's think about the second stage of last year. Coming into this year, it's been Uno, Uno, Uno on the Thatcher over and over again. Not to say that, you know, Virtue shouldn't know how to play the Thatcher, but a double EMP would have seemed natural. Even a triple if you were confirming that because you weren't going for anywhere else. If it was a necessity and you heard those electric claws deployed, pop out another EMP as well. I mean, bit of a shame there. No EMPs left, and it wouldn't have mattered, as you said. So now it's a frag bit of a city. 60 seconds left, and Rogue should absolutely know this. They know how many they've zapped off, and they know it's just going to have to be a Hail Mary onto site.
It is, and at this point, they're going to have to make something happen. They've got players playing out towards the east. They've got Uno coming down Sparrow, so he can just play here and try and cut the rotate back to site potentially. If he can get a couple of kills while the other members of G2 force them outside of server, that could be kills going back their way. And you can see now as the pincer starts to come in, but Leon is going to find Citizen. Not a trade that we thought we'd see coming through, given how Citizen did back in round number 1 with the 3K on side. And with that being cleared out, they might actually be able to rotate back to site here, no worries. And for G2, 20 seconds to go. Now you need to pull the trigger. You got to make it happen. One goes the way of Uno, but rips straight there to trade it back. This is clean and clinical from Rogue. They have dealt with this excellently, blocking the hard breach, stopping the push from the backside coming in. They're going to fall to their deaths. Kayak, the last man left alive. A clean round for Rogue. We've got a game on our hands, Jess.
That's what we want. When G2 takes that momentum on the first round, swings with it, then swing back with your own version, and that's what we're getting here from Rogue. And when we said this was going to be a banging matchup for the top 4 position, we damn meant it. Whoever walks away with the 3 points, should they walk away with the 3 points, will guarantee themselves that top 4 position. If it goes into overtime, things start to get very, very murky. And if rounds keep going back and forth the way they have been now, I mean, who's to say that we won't be hitting more than 12 regulation rounds? Whatever it is to be, so far I'm liking what I'm seeing, especially when, the likes of Leon is not throwing bodies away early on in the round. That's when you start to see his IGL and his support playing flourish. This time he'll be on the Malusi. Fair enough, whatever works, but for the most part, when you're on the top floor and you're playing the aggressive playstyle you need to be, actually they're going to go lobby. Fair enough. Top floor's got a very low win percentage. At least it did in the first few weeks of stage 1. Interesting to see how they play this one, though, because I faintly remember, and it was Aces, wasn't it? I faintly remember opening up the side of bathroom wall and then using that as an angle over towards yellow and absolutely gunning people down. I don't know if they've opened that up again here, but if they do, I wouldn't be surprised to see the bottom bathroom. I don't know, is it still easy or is it medics back on the cam? Lobby bathroom. That's the one.
I'm sure they'll tell you very happily soon in the chat, and you'll find out exactly who it is. I know what you mean, what you're referring to. The only issue you have there is if you lose control of that angle and someone gets on yellow and just contests you down through the wall, as soon as you try and make a drop into basement, which admittedly you're probably not going to on this site in particular, more if you're defending basement, you can just get yourself clipped to try and descend and often find yourself going down. It really depends how aware G2 are, I guess, and what the setup is going to be.
Well, as the round begins, it looks like G2 want to do an admin take, and rightly so. Drones will start bursting up near the windows, and they'll work out whether or not admin will be clear for them to take, because what you need when you're taking lobby, for the most part, is you'll need that vertical control. So as they make their way on through, it'll be Uno to be watching these windows. If anyone peeks on out, he might get a bit of a freebie. Yes, over towards Connector. One will peek out. Crying gets lit up from above, and as they make their ingress from admin over, a low HP of Crime might be what they need to be able to get that top floor control, but it's only been a minute so far. That's why you hear a couple of the players rotating around as G2's just very slowly attempting to get in onto that meeting.
Slowly does it, I think, here with the vertical control. They've got the windows on the top floor, 2 of them being lined up to give them a lot of coverage. And this is why the top floor site is often hated by a lot, or not hated, but has a very low defensive win rate here in EU. Around the world, surprisingly, it's quite a bit more balanced. But the long angles that you open up with the window control throughout seemingly the entirety of the top floor makes it really hard to play up there as defenders once top floor control is even being set up from the attackers. My only concern is the amount of time that it's taking here. Like, sure, they've got that media control. Yeah. Finally, they're inside it. I was going to say, a minute and a half in, still having not pushed the defenders back. Kind of surprised. And if I were Rogue here, maybe you're thinking about dialing back to site here. A cat's got 9 lives. Crying has got 2, apparently. Down to about 10 HP. And here's Corey in close and Connector. Can't quite win that one, Uno. And that's going to be a great opening kill.
I mean, you don't expect the player to be proning on the middle of the ground. Kayak does, though, as he attempts to make a bit of an impact onto him upside down, repelling on Connector window. And that's the trade, albeit late. And that's going to be Kayak to be able to even the number count here. Although I will say Cryin is incredibly low and Leon Gids will go down. Kanto on spiral stairs. It doesn't even look like they need that vertical control at all here, Des. They want to make their impression over towards spiral, and well, it'd be all up to Rips, who's in bathroom now, to be able to counter it. I know Aces is quite lit up as well over towards the bomb. If they can get him off, then it's going to be an easy ingress onto that lobby side.
I think they were just trying to flush them downstairs for the most part with the top floor control they've got. You can see Virtue above, making sure there's enough coverage once that diffuser's going down. But Ace is holding pretty tight here. If he can find himself a kill, this could be beautifully seized. The man but backs away. How on earth is the man inside a lobby not seen that he's here as well? I think they should now know that Ace is holding close. He finds one, swings for the planting. They knew he was here. Sledge looks straight at him and he's managed to pull away from it too. 2 versus 2, 3 seconds to go. G2 have whiffed this one away, but Aces with the hero play is going to ensure that Rogue walk away with round number 3.
I understand completely why Leon is yelling right now, because that round should have been unwinnable. Absolutely unwinnable for the side of Rogue. Aces had to have been on 6 HP maximum. I'm looking back at the bar. I am almost certain with myself this man was only on single digits of HP. That is less than a bullet. A man could have cut a bullet up into a quarter and breathed on Aces, and he would have gone down into a DB&O state. No one could deal with him. They didn't have hatch control over towards that diagonal angle. The person in lobby going for the plant wasn't appropriately covered, and the person over on Spiral just seemingly didn't shoot back. That round was a very, very odd one for G2. It's an oddity. I'm going to put it down to the fact that it was a miscommunication, because that is not the G2 we're used to seeing.
It was really unfortunate because I think Kayak was the one who went in for the plant in lobby doorway, and he was the one originally holding the anti-window. Like, that position is there to stop them contesting you from piano and pushing their way across. You got the vertical cover, you got the spiral cover, so no one can come across from, say, Visa side. But without that cover on anti-window, left alone, unchecked, gets 2 kills to swing the round out to Rogue. Otherwise, as you say, that was going to be a G2 round win. So great play by Aces there, great awareness, and a great couple of gunfights despite having no HP to his name. Let's get into round number 4 though, and again, we're seeing the roam game coming out from Rogue, absolutely surprising no one. Also quite a few members looking to roam up onto the top floor with the Mozzie Pest coming out once again, and that mirror makes a return.
Well, Corey, he's going to make his return over to this yellow window. He did manage to get a kill onto Rickety last time, but he was on the Jaeger. This time, he'll have the Roni in hand. A little bit less effective at distance, but with no recoil, that's something you can absolutely laser ahead off should you be able to get that kill. But no one peeks into his line of sight. He'll scuttle away, and now that's sort of a slow start to this round. I think Leon has learned his lesson on the pulse, however, Des. He's not going to go throwing his body towards the attackers just yet. The first person to take a little bit of HP damage, however, is Kaito, and it almost seemingly is him getting the opening kill or becoming the opening death multiple rounds in a row now.
They're taking this really safe take as well. We always talk about top floor, that yellow is harder to take initially, but gives you a better position for later in the round. Admin, much easier to take to start with, but gives you an arguable worse position later into the round, given the single doorways that you need to then go pushing through, the walls that you have to open up inside a copy, for example. There's lots of things that make it a bit more difficult to push in from. But I think because they're only trying to push through top floor here, G2 starting there is a good idea. You had initially the Malusi challenging inside a copy, and as you say, I think it's a good idea they're not sticking the pulse out on the roam. Malusi, once those Banshees are down, not essential anymore to the defense, I'd say. Ideally kept alive, given that it's a 4C4 for the team. Just noted that, actually. Corey's changed away from not playing C4 to playing C4.
Well, on this particular site, it is a necessity. Most teams will plant in tellers, and considering the explosion radius changes, a year or so ago, that is really, really important. We've seen this C4 work time and time again, and it will work again. But you know what else is working in the background? A plant from Kayak. He'll bait it out because he desperately wants all of those C4s aforementioned to come raining out. If you can bait them all out, when you actually go for the real plant, nothing is there to stop you. He'll now hold the angle towards Spiral. He knows someone wants to peek up against him. Look at all of those vertical holes. Leon, he's going to be able to paint a very clear picture with yellow pings as to where Kayak is. He'll run on in. The only place you can plant without being C4, but it doesn't matter. Because when you have the angle like Leon does with the UMP, things will work. And now all he needs to do is scan out this player. But Citizen, Kaito, they've all run below. They've made the difference. It's up to Aces, but he's missed. He's going to have to hit every shot, and yes, he does!
But he's got to be able to bring the whole thing back by himself. Swings round, they managed to stop it out. My word, that one came close. But for them, they know it's a win that was so sorely needed. Now we're into a spot where things are looking spicy. And look at that. We can move the camera around. How beautiful. That's something that Hat found out actually the other day.
Yeah, it gives me motion sickness. I don't like it.
It's like, whoa, drunk man, as you look around what's going on. But, phew, another spicy end to the round, though, Jess.
Oh, I almost just burst my vocal cords, absolutely screaming at that double kill there from Aces. That was unbelievable. You know what it reminded me of? Who was it in APAC the other day that did that double kill on Oregon? One over towards Attic, one towards White, and he flicked between one player and the other almost instantaneously.
Static from Cloud9.
Yes, that one. That was reminiscent of that. I felt the same goosebumps and vibes that I got from that static Cloud9 double kill on Oregon that Aces was just able to put on the board there. Would it have mattered? Yes. And people are going to look back on those last 10, 15 seconds of that round during that execute and say, well, it probably wouldn't have mattered. They probably still would have retaken. No. Things were very tumultuous on that bottom floor. Things were looking really bad for the defenders. And sometimes just a really good shot or two, you bring your team back into the fray, and that's what that was. And guess what? It's broken the trend here, Des. No back and forth anymore. This is very one-sided now.
Yeah, round one was pretty decisively going over to G2, with 3 rounds now going the way of Rogue through some smart vertical angles being opened up in that last round. I'm impressed. That being said, we looked at kind of round 3 and said that was a round that Rogue arguably shouldn't have won off the back of that one, right? Round 2 was the massive step up from G2 in not getting the garage wall opened up. All of these rounds are coming down to very fine margins or specific hero plays by Aces, as we've now seen in a couple of these rounds. Not to take it away from Rogue, they're getting themselves in a position where those hero plays can matter, but it is feeling close.
Well, that's what we want. And speaking of close, the hashtag BDS power, hashtag go Varna. Is it Varna or Varna? I know people have been saying Varna, but I've just kind of been like copying everyone.
You mean, what, Varna or Varna?
Yeah, like how are they preferring the pronunciation?
It is Kavana. Yeah, we had this in the UK for quite a while where it's like, oh, is it Kawana? And they were like, no, it's Kavana. Like, oh, okay, how bad. I think we picked it up from a few of the players doing interviews and stuff, and we're like, right, Kavana, got it. It's one of those. Oh,
that had to have been a split second between that electrical deploying and that exothermic going off. That's a shame, because that could have made a big difference. Doesn't matter though, because that wall will get opened up, and a lot of people will say to me, well, I mean, he had another exothermic. A lot of teams will try and open up panel 3 and panel 1, and oh, Corey, be careful where you peek. Uno's there to collect. And now that they have a lot of time on their hands here, the panel open on up, and not a lot of denial by the looks of it. I mean, 1 C4 already expended, no smoke on the lineup. Rips is the only hope here, and what, they got another EMP to play with? Ouch, that is a lot to play with a lot of time. There's going to have to be some real big aggression here from Rogue, because Rips is the only line of defense for a behind-the-white van plan.
I was really concerned they were being too conservative with their EMPs, to be honest. When they only had the one coming out, knowing it was going to get Kai tricked, right. I thought, surely you just throw down 2 and guarantee the wall gets opened up. But, as you say, they still have that 1 EMP remaining here for the ADSs that are sat on the other side of the wall, which gives them more windows to play through if they want to make use of it. Here, though, no one's dead. 60 seconds remaining. There's a lot of time to play with, but G2 always love to pull the trigger. My concern is they haven't got any smokes to go for a plant here. Interestingly, we haven't yet seen Ace come out of them at all.
That's something that a lot of teams are used to using those smokes, etc. But you know what Aces is used to using? That SMG-11, and
oh boy,
well, he'll take out Uno, who's attempting to get some of that vertical control. Plant does go off, and the EMP will rain in just in case there's anything there to stop them. No, just as that C4 was thrown, they'll get taken out, and Kayak says, get off the plant, boys. We need to make a difference. But guess who's lurking on the yellow stairs? It's Leon Gibbs. He can hear the plant going out, so he'll kill the cover first. Behind the white van, but Kayak says, I'm going to get off the plant again. 3 times off the plant, baby. And not only can he be the best support player G2 need, but he can be the fragger when he has to.
We've already seen him back in week 1 with a godly clutch to close out the game. In fact, it wasn't week 1, no. It was against Virtus Pro, I think in week 2 or 3. I forget exactly when they played them. But his 1v3 was unbelievable to close it out. We know this guy can frag. We know that's one of the reasons why G2 picked him up. And 2 kills there. Like you're saying, guys, I guess I best do my own dirty work then. If you can't keep them off me, I'll keep them off me. And gets the 2 kills to close things out. Otherwise, again, could have been a very dicey round if Corey had got the drop on him and killed him, or if Leon had found him in the first place. Again, I'll bring it back to these games are ridiculously close. You can tell why it's a battle for 4th place.
Ooh, it's not just prize money, it is SI points. Because let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, these boys are already loaded. I mean, I'm sure their orgs are paying them fistfuls of cash just to play for them, I guarantee you. But much more importantly, those SI points, they want to be there next year at SI. I know we've got a couple of the teams already going to SI this year throughout all of EUL. There's going to be good EU representation, so make sure you do tune in next month when SI is meant to occur. But something I have to point out here that I haven't seen in a long, long time, a far right mirror Usually we see a dead center. What's up with this far rightness that we're seeing from Rips here? I wonder how they're going to protect it from the spiral. Are they going to reinforce those two back walls? Interestingly enough, the reason he is putting it there is because it gives him a direct angle to challenge the run-in for White Band. If you put it center, you can't challenge it. If you put it hard right, you can see it and challenge it. So that's why it's there, but it's hard to defend from spiral.
I think this is the identification that you don't often see G2 going for spiral at the same time as they go for an execute.
Fair.
Very commonly, they commit 4 or 5 members all towards one spot, and that's what they're looking for here, or at least riding on. Either that, or you want someone, it was Leon a second ago, challenging up spiral, or at least trying to hold it. And they saw in the last round, for example, with that kill on the top floor for Aces, they can kill people out on the roam. They're not scared of doing that, and if you can stop the spiral assault, they can't get the mirror window. Whether or not it works, we'll wait and see. In this case, they're perfectly aware of where Citizen is. They saw him on the camera a second ago. Now it's a case of being able to hunt him down and close things out.
Well, G2 are going to do the typical admin take, cut off any rotates up those Visa stairs by sledging above it, and as a result, this top floor should be pretty well clear for them. They've confirmed this with drones, but they'll also confirm it with a few face checks, and the two fraggers coming out of the Zofia and the sledge, they'll be able to run on through it. What they're worried about, however, is a little bit of that bathroom hold. That's why Kanto's trying to get that diagonal angle into it. Aces is meant to be there, and as he dances around shooting the drones, they will confirm he is around, and that'll be the first engagement between Corey and Aces. He wants to give an identification. He's in bathroom. He's baited. He's the red herring. Now he gets the initial kill onto Uno. He's going to come dancing upstairs. And, well, surely they won't know about this, Des, because as Kanto misses him...
Oh, the cutback. I like how he checked it the first case because he knows that Citizen loves to push into office and then, or into console, sorry, and then be challenging onto yellow stairs early in the round. But doesn't see someone the first time, thinks it stays clear, but no, Kanto sneaks his way in and does balance the books a little bit. 4 versus 4 with 60 seconds left to play. And we're seeing some vertical control coming through for what feels like the first time for G2.
You're talking about vertical control, but look what Corey has. He has flank control here. That's an easy one onto Kayak.
Why?
He was attempting to open up the hatch and onto the site. He'll get a double for the trouble. And now Corey getting that flank in hand means that Citizen needs to try and get the trade. Unfortunately, 2 members fall on the side of G2 and it's done serious damage. But the wall is opened up. It is Citizen and Virtue left. They're going up against a mirror window, multiple different Maestro cams that I don't believe they've dealt with because all of those those soft breaches with those impacts, etc., they didn't deal with them earlier on enough. So with 20 seconds left here, they're going to try and deal with them with the grenades remaining. But I tell you what, there is no chance of a plant here.
I mean, he just burned his last EMP straight into an ADS without realizing it, as you probably gather from the screen shake, which means they can't clear out the gadgets that are present at this point. That's going to be slightly worrying. They're just going to have to go for it right now. Guys, there's no time left. Start the plant, start the count. They can't get it through. Rogue went out on time on this one. Again, because of this aggressive roam game, we saw the damage that was being done. The roam is upstairs. It was one of those crazy rounds, Jess, where they just kept on missing each other just by a couple of seconds. Like the first time round, it was up on the top floor with the back out that we saw come from the mute of Aces. The next time round, they thought, great, we've killed the player that went upstairs. It's the mute, therefore it's clear. No, Corey's following in behind him, taking the power position, getting a double kill and killing not just the thermite, but also putting the diffuser on the ground. Great way to starve time, and G2 maybe dropping off a little bit there in terms of attention. Have now got to correct things in the second half as Rogue sit at 4-2.
What a good first half here from Rogue. I did say that they wouldn't necessarily, do too well on their attacking side, just if statistics are to say anything. But, I mean, as Hat rightly put in one of my DMs before, he goes, I mean, if stats aren't looking good, Jess, don't look at them. I mean, thank you so much, Statman Hat. That helps me exponentially. I mean, G2 aren't going to do well in their second half. Just don't look at the stats and then they don't come true. I'm going to do that for all the G2 fans out there. Technically, they're a pretty 50-50 team on this map. But they're going to have to be a little bit more than that if they want to recollect all of the rounds they've lost. And they're going to open up the very long angle that was first. When I say first, it was popularized in stage 1 of last year. And it was teams like Rogue who were doing these really long angles on this map. This time it's going to be G2 that gets that 1.5. No more ACOG left for these old double ACOGs of Dokken and Rook. Not to be here. Oh, dirty.
I was going to ask you, do you remember what a certain Norwegian caster introduced me to this combo as?
I tried to think of it on the fly just then, and I was like, is it rock?
Where are you going with that? No,
they combine the name. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Duck is what Snorrelay for caster from the Nordics, who do a wonderful job, by the way. You should watch him and XR Troika when the games are on. He calls it the Duck combo, and I was like, that's a really weird name that I've never heard before, and it has just stuck since I first casted them about 18 months ago. It's crazy. We're also seeing another pairing come out, though, in the Wamai and the Jaeger, one that in my notes I always write down as Wager, so I was like, this is a double duo game then. We'll see the Duck and the Wager at the same time. Honestly, this is going to start confusing with all these names now. Let's stop talking about names and talk more about the rounds, because we've also got the Zero on side as well. A niche pick that we've seen a few teams employ from time to time, but I'll go as far as saying it's most definitely not a meta pick, Jess.
No, definitely not. A lot of people will try and use it for their flank drones, so they don't have to employ their drones necessarily towards the flank. They're quite easy to spot, whereas these ones can be deployed into almost any surface. They can also be reversed. So if you put them in the ground, you can flip them up towards that particular floor or down towards the floor below. They're very versatile, but they do emit a blinking light, so it's very easy to be able to spot them if you know what you're looking for. Nevertheless, Harbridge secondary gadget as well, so quite a versatile operator, and the MP7 on attack. There's a lot that Zero can bring, and I'm glad that there are some of those pro teams that are thinking about bringing it. Speaking of bringing it, where's the firepower? Where's the gusto here, Rogue? You've wasted half the round here, and you've run on into kitchen. Hello, where's the drones?
I mean, there was one that Kayak was trying to fight, so they knew he was here. Just must be poor coordination for a second in terms of callouts. Fortunately, Citizen doesn't go down. Not Citizen, sorry. It was Leon who got inside on the Twitch of all things as well, hoping to do work with the F2, but not to happen. Now we really see this kill feed starting to light up as it turns blue, all in favor of G2. 4 versus 2. The Sophia and the Yana, the last ones left alive. Nothing but a couple of impacts. The Gemini clone to make use of here. They've got no drones left, and I get the feeling, Jess, this round should be going down the pan.
Well, I'm not going to say much about it because I don't want to curse G2 here. We said that they needed to recollect a few of those rounds, and as that Mozzie drone will rightly spot out the last remaining rogue players, that's when Rips will fall, and is going to be the Yana here. Not going to have the ARX in hand. Instead, going to opt for the magazine with the more bullets, and that might work out in Krein's favor here. With only 15 seconds left, hey, who knows? He could hit the 4 best headshots of his life. Instead, he's going to sit and hold and play time, give the team a bit of a breather here, because when you are 2 rounds ahead, now only 1 round ahead, you don't want to let this kind of lead slip, because we know exactly what happens when teams slowly fall and another team gains momentum.
Seeing them out quite early there inside of admin, it feels like. Good start to the half for G2, and we'll start on that effort towards rebalancing things, 4 and 3. For Rogue, again, we commented on how strong the first half was, coming out 4 and 2, but how close a number of the rounds was. Dare I kind of go as far as saying that was probably the cleanest round I think we've had. When I say clean, I don't mean in terms of the actual gunfights, because it was quite scrappy in the mid round, but it was quite decisive to the side of G2 is the way that I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said we were missing Ace for the most part, but hey, here he goes. He'll make his, what do you call it when someone makes their first showing?
It's his debut, Jess!
Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you put it out there. Was that Kayak that we said it?
No, it was Patbull, and it wasn't even me. There's a guy called Day, and Day, if you're watching this, love you, buddy. He said something along the lines of in a team chat, and I saw the clip. I think Patbull on their very first game on Cafe got a 3K, 2 coming down red on Cafe, and then went and lay down in a dead body inside of kitchen and got the final kill. And Day in the chat was just like, on his debut! Oh my! I just actually lost it, screaming the word debut 20 times over. It was amazing.
Well, Ace doesn't necessarily have the impact that Patbull had then during his little rap proning session on Cafe, but I will say, Rap Bull, thank you very much, but something I do want to put out quite rightfully so is that G2 have decided, and mind you, Rogue, they're not going to be fully aware as to which side G2 is going to go to. Do they go to bottom floor? Do they go to lobby? Where are they going to go? So they bring that Ace just in case, and it's still going to be helpful on the top floor, because if you want to take mid in control, then of course you are going to need to open up meeting, and you can do so from Printer with the Selmas. So hopefully that's where Aces makes his mark. For the most part now, they're going to leave most of those doors towards lobby and piano closed because they're more focused on the top floor for now, and they don't want anyone running out of them in the later stages of the round.
Understandable. Definitely looking behind those 3 C4s to see what damage they can do with those. The mute multi we speak about seemingly all the time whenever we see it employed out. Of course, big focus on intel denial, but when paired up with the pulse, you're thinking about the intel combo that brings. Even catch a couple of drones and you're feeling very happy. 2 of those pests currently out on the field. And Kanto's the one trying to challenge inside a meeting. We always see this focus on the top floor hold, at least initially when we're defending the lobby and piano sites, because you don't want to give them free control of meeting to start contesting inside a lobby. That's normally when you can see a safe plant come inside a lobby itself. But as we saw previously, you've also got to make sure anti-chamber is clear, else you get an aces, he swings out, he kills 2 people, your round's over, and your day's ruined.
Speaking of ruining your day, Virtue might very much ruin Corey's day. I think he wanted to pop a C4 out from below there, but instead he popped out shots. And, well, guess what? That is not a place you can shoot through. So instead he's just going to continuously call out on this player. He's standing still. He's droning, and that's a bad day for Corey if I've ever seen one. Blown sky high, and that C4 will collect the opening kill here on round number 8. A good one for G2 because, well, most teams who get the opening kill will also be able to collect the round. So for G2, this bodes really well, but Leon Gids on the buck. He's hoping to change that outcome, change fate, if he has anything to say about it.
And it's a starting kill, and it's onto the 0 as well. So that intel, of course, being taken off the board, which you would have relied on quite heavily with that and the Iana being the kind of guiding light. But a grenade comes singing in onto Kanto. A couple of seconds before, we heard another C4 come out as well. Now there's only going to be one left. Rips pricking one back up, and like that, in the space of 7 seconds, Rogue have swung the round back in their favor. So much so, they're now going for a plant, and they know the lesson. You smoke out anti, you stop them pushing into you, and Aces will get away with it and get himself back outside the map. We know just how difficult these retakes can be. Jess, Consulate is one of the worst maps for retakes in the game.
Well, considering that every attacker, I should say, could just rappel outside, go these long angles if they so choose. Remember when we saw, I believe it was Joystick, get a clutch on this map post-plant. Now it's up to Virtue and Uno. They can paint their names in history here on this map with a great little retake. They'll kick it off, but now it's only up to Uno. He's got the shotgun and the SMG, and he only gets a DBNO onto Cryan, who finishes him off. And that's going to be a good round here for Rogue, because what looked dire to begin with, especially in the second half here as G2 was making their comeback, now looks firmly back in the hands of Rogue. And this roller coaster ride that you and I have been on thus far is giving me whiplash. Which way is this going? Because if it's going to OT, my heart will crumble, because I have no idea who will make top 4 then.
It's one of those that I look at and just think, the first half we spoke about the kind of, not so much inconsistency, but how rounds were coming really, really close. It was very indecisive between rounds as to being the clear-cut winner. Both of these rounds so far in the second half, I felt are really, really clear who's come out the leader and why. That last round then, Cryan with the 4K, one player stepping up, making the hero play. But not just that, it was super clean from Rogue from start to finish. The clear out they had come through. Sure, they lost a man to the C4. You can kind of expect that when there are 3 C4s on the other side on a vertical site. But the 2 kills that followed, the plant that came through, beautiful stuff, boys. Massively improved, by the way, compared to when we saw them against Fatality.
I think something to be said about teams that are idealizing the objective as well on attack, regardless of the map. I mean, look to VP today on Villa. They absolutely painted history for this particular stage on how many plants you can get down in a singular half on a singular map. That was brilliant from them to be able to get all of those plants down. I think Team Vitality has the most plants, or at least before today's play day began, they had the most plants out of the entire league, and as a result, they had a really good attacking win rate. I think teams, especially Rogue, you saw Aces run in and try and get that plant down. Teams who are focusing on the plant tend to do really well. Go figure. It's an objective-based game, huh?
Imagine that. Imagine the shock, an objective-based game where objectives actually matter. The thing is, we back and forth on this a lot, right, where we say objectives, super important, really matter, and then we always end up saying, well, if you hit your shots, it doesn't matter what you do, you can win or lose rounds. That's just the beauty of Siege. There's a kind of 2 layers of depth to it here, where if you want to be an objective-focused team, you be objective-focused. You want to frag out like Rogue and get out on the map and keep busy, go for it. Whatever suits you, whatever plays into your playstyle, and it gives us great variety. But we're back in, Jess. Round number 9. Rogue sat at 5-3 are surprisingly in the lead today. This is a game I think that we all put down for G2 to win as well. It's not a good reintroduction for caster predictions, should we say?
Well, you've always sat very low on that, so the only person that needs to worry is me, because I'm trying to keep my dominance against Hap on the predictions percentage. So for the most part, I'm a little worried about it. I'm also a little worried that there's no Thatcher ban, and there's no Thatcher on Rogue. I'm going to repeat that again, because if you all missed it, it's Consulate, it's bottom floor site, which they should have known that G2 would have moved there after that loss of middle floor. There's probably not a chance that they try and repeat it. And you don't bring a Thatcher. They've also got the double Kaid Claw, and with no IQ, it's going to require them to go above Buck and then use their grenades to get rid of. Just saying, that's a very difficult way of going about it. And oh no, not again. Kanto, instead of being the opening kill giver, he'll be the opening death. That was him attempting to try and get some of those kills from the top window. And hey, that grenade there works fine.
Yeah, I mean, they've made that look easy to start getting this opened up. Only the one, of course, coming away before the shot out the other, and now they'll get a crouch wall open up to the right. May even try and get the full wall opened up if it plays out. Another one comes through. What a great grenade. Just sings in out of nowhere, and now you're seeing the value of a Jaeger or a Wamai, because these grenades can sing in all day long. And guess what, Jess? They've still got 2 smokes to play with if they want them as well. Great start to the round coming out for Rogue. For what looked like initially a really difficult setup, we saw just how hard it was for Empire to get the CC wall open on Club. It just didn't play out for them without the Thatcher. Kills going back and forth. Aces stepping in for the plant. You got Citizen trying to push his way in. Down past security, but nothing is really coming out so far. In fact, it's into a 2 versus 2. They have somewhat recovered this, but Citizen and Uno have got to go big. They've got vertical control here, I believe, on one side, and there he is again with one coming out. 2 versus 1. Have G2 managed to swing this round, or can Corey hold firm and bring this all the way? If he wants to, he's got a couple of cameras he can still make use of, but the plan right now for Citizen is to make this a 2v1 truly once again. Now they've got to deal with the man outside. Do they challenge this and go for the defuse, or do they risk trying to stick the defuse whilst one man looks for the angle? Either way, it's going to get tense. They've got about 5 seconds. I think they've left it a little bit too late in this case. In fact, no, they're going to try and stick. Corey, now's your time to go, buddy. There's a man outside. Kills one. You've got to hit him. He's come off the diffuser. Why has he come off it?
Why did he get off?
That's it.
Why did he get off?
Got the whole way.
Why did you get off? Oh my, why? What were you gonna do? Pull a time traveler? Like what? You were to get the kill, go back in time so that you had 7 seconds to defuse.
Leon.
Are you kidding me? No wonder Leon's like that. If the audience could see me right now, I have my hands across my entire face, probably smearing my makeup left, right, and center, but who cares? My goodness.
I love how straight in the chat, Corey was like, question mark, and Aces comes in with the Pepe laugh straight after. Just drops it in there saying, guys, that's not the way to do this. Like, what the hell are you doing? The sad thing is, if they'd stuck that out, they probably could have won the round. Yeah,
they would have won.
There's been a couple of these now where in these rounds, said, oh, if that small thing hadn't happened, if this guy hadn't died there, or this ending had been droned out. Who was on it, actually? I've got the clean feed somewhere. Let me give it a look. And I'll come back.
You have a look at it. Thank you. Because once I know, not that I want to like make them a pariah so that everyone in chat's like, oh my god, you threw the round or anything like that. I mean, look, they did their best. Oh,
what was the timer? The timer was 2.1 seconds. He could have got away with it because the angle wasn't there for Corey either as well. Like, he was so covered by that reinforcement. You'll see it now.
Oh no, we're replaying it. Oh no.
Just to embarrass you a bit more, Uno, right? Look at the timer. It goes down to about 2.3 after Corey's taken this. He's got no way of killing him here. He's got to run forward, so you can always count it down to 1 second.
Why did he get off? It was 2 seconds.
He probably gets... Did he just gone 6 him? I think he gone 6.
He didn't have a secondary.
Beautiful. I love it. Just gone 6 the guy. New tubing's back, boys. We're stepping back into like 2008, it feels like.
Oh, my heart has dropped here for G2 because I seriously considered them to be a top 4 team. With how Rogue performed last week, when they got 7-1, I said, yep, they're out of the running. I confidently said in my head, they are out of the running. G2 has looked far better than them over the span of this stage. And to come into this matchup now and to show such dominance against G2 on a map that, I mean, statistically, is only got a 50% win rate for Rogue. And, I mean, yes, okay, the same for G2, but, oh my goodness.
God, the top 4 gets messy looking at this as well, because I think if Rogue win this game, it is nigh impossible for them to get locked up. They've beaten VP, they've beaten G2, they then can't be replaced because they'll be sat on 14 points. Both of those 2 teams will be on 11. Where it gets spicy is if G2 win tomorrow and Kavana lose both of their games, both teams are sat on 14 points. G2 win because they beat Kavana 7-1 earlier on in the season. It is going to get real spicy tomorrow. if this game carries on this way. We haven't finished yet. Let's calm down, because let's remember exactly how, for example, Na'Vi versus VP went on this map when Blur pulled out arguably the 3 greatest rounds of his career and won the game for them regardless, right?
Well, some good cams coming out from Corey. They don't just collect the flank intel, but they can also collect intel on the players that are roaming above here. And as a result, Corey will know exactly where those G2 players are, persisting over towards Long Desk and right next to Printer, a vending machine. A bulletproof to assist, and Citizen will get lit up. He's got a 2 KD currently, so that would be a major hit for the side of G2 now. Virtue and Citizen, both lower on HP than they would have liked. And if you're looking over to Rogue, who is staring down the barrel of match point here, Des, I'm telling you what, G2, they're going to be sitting there wondering whether or not they've got the mentality that it takes to win this round on a site that is an off-site for many.
And the plant's already going down. No one's dead,
What?
and the plant is getting committed here. Aces has just snaked his way in. Do they not know? Kayak, where are you, buddy? You're in Narnia while the plant's going down. They've got away with that one, snaked it out from underneath G2. This could be another catastrophic round unless they can recover. Kanto starts the effort, but Leon had already found Virtue just a second before. There's got to be some recovery. The vertical angle being found. It's a 3 versus 2. Aces rips crying. They've done it at this point, Jess, I think. They've held on. Kanto's got to pull off a mammoth play. He's got 2 kills to find and 13 seconds to get down for the defuse, but Aces has just snaked his way inside of the site, got the plant down, and G2, you can't say they feel robbed, because it's been a long time coming with how this map has played out. It's going to be Rogue defeating G2, securing a top 4 spot and pretty much knocking them out of the top 4.
You let them know, Leon. You put them in the bin. And you showed the world that you deserve to be in the top 4. Rogue is back, baby. And that scoreline tells more of a story than any of us casters could ever do. Because they went to a map that was fair and square from the very beginning. And G2 has been overrun by a reinvigorated Rogue. Aces might have been the support on attack, but he snuck his way into my heart, and he snuck his way into 3 whole points.
Oh, what an entertaining game. And again, I touch on the kind of glow up that we've seen here for Rogue after having